Hey everybody, it is now October and it is Tuesday, October 3rd. And boy, this month is getting off to a strange start, isn't it? You know, I have to talk about yesterday, Monday, waking up Monday, finding out about Las Vegas, the massacre, and then later finding out about Tom Petty. It was a strange day because I got some records, which is always good for me, and I want to talk about that. But I have to kind of get there first. Everyone has an opinion, everyone is giving their opinion. So here's mine. For what it's worth, which is probably not much. We always get it wrong. The press always looks for motives. That's not going to help anything. We can't prevent this. We can't prevent these things from happening. The reason I think we can't prevent them from happening is because our focus as nations, as a people, is wrong. We're not focused on life. We're not focused on each other. We're not focused on humanity. We're focused on material wealth. And that breeds greed, which breeds the world that we live in. Not very beneficial to the living. I have friends and family down in Las Vegas. I've heard from most of them. A tragedy, it is. Then on top of that, we get the confusing news all day about Tom Petty. We hear that he is found, after having had cardiac arrest in his home, and then that he was brain dead and they taken off of life support. So with that information, people started to talk about his passing, and then it wasn't official until last night. I don't have any Tom Petty records to show you, but did Tom Petty affect me personally? Very much so. Tom Petty was great. He was a great American musician. I mean, he came up from nowhere. He really did. Back in the 70s, when I was starting to play in bands and mixing up covers along with originals, Tom Petty, I played a lot of Tom Petty in several bands. Everything from Breakdown to Here Comes My Girl. Of course, we did Refugee. I'm still playing Tom Petty in one of the bands I'm in, Scudder. This band, we do Last Dance with Mary Jane. Tom Petty's songwriting was so down to earth, direct, and honest. He was great. Again, the fact that he rose from obscurity, from being a musician's band. I mean, like, when I first heard of Tom Petty, no one knew who he was except for musicians who were all playing his music, and I was, from the beginning. I Need to Know used to play that song too. So many great songs. I respected him right away. I could tell in his delivery, not just the songwriting, but his delivery. He's a rock and roll animal. To me, he was a rock and roll animal. He definitely deserved to be in the same company as George Harrison and Bob Dylan and Roy Orbison and Prince and all those people that he worked with. He was great. The only Tom Petty record I have anymore is one of the Traveling Wilburys records, but again, it's buried in the closet, so I can't show it to you now. We lost another great voice, at 66 years old, Tom Petty. An American great, a musical great, really. Excuse me. That's important to note the passing. So if you don't mind, Ben, I'm going to go ahead and I got your package. I could make a separate video thanking you, but I'm going to go ahead and keep going here. I received 2 packages yesterday. I'll only talk about one because one is from a label, FDH Records. Yeah, FDH Records, and they sent me a bunch, about 10 albums. So I need to take some time and get into those. But there's another VC member who's been doing videos for a long time. His name is Ben, but his channel is Ryan Rocks. Some of you folks will know Ben by the name Ryan Rocks, and if you've been in the VC for a while, you'll know that Ben has an amazing vertigo swirl collection. That was one of the things that we connected on. Was I don't have a big swirl collection, but I have some, and I recognize how cool that particular label was. Well, Ben's been watching me and said he had something he wanted to send me. I'll get to those, but first I'll start with, he sent me music that he knew I would want, and I thank you, but he also sent me a copy of a record that he made on CD. I remember when he made this a few years ago. This is Out of Struggles, made between 2010 and 2011. Ben Ortner, Out of Struggles. Now, Ben, what I can tell you, thank you for sharing this with me. And I know you want a review, and I can tell you a quick one. I did listen to some of this. As I say very honestly in my videos, music is what I'm listening to. It's the whole picture. And it's the music more than the story, much more than the words. Your songs are songs, and what you're saying here is the most, from what I can gather, is the most important thing here. You can play and sing well enough, you know, but it's pretty straight ahead, you know, which puts your attention on the song, and you're sharing things with us. And in that sense, this is really nice, very personal. You have a good voice. Thank you for sharing this with me. I will listen to it again. To get to the records that he sent me, he told me what he was going to send me, and I just can't thank you enough. He sent me, actually, he sent me an amazing little package. Not little either. Thank you, Ben, Ryan Rock. So he saw me talking about Can recently because of the passing of Holger Zuckay, and even before that, Jackie Liebezeit. And I've been collecting Can since I found out about them in the 70s. They truly are a favorite, and they are influential beyond listening, okay? So he wrote me and asked if I had a couple things, and I said, well, no, I'd love to have those, you know. And then he threw in some extras. So what he told me was he had this, Can Cannibalism, which is a compilation with a couple of edits of early stuff, which makes it stand out, okay, the way it's edited. Now, being a train spotter that I am, this is a bit of a bastard, which I don't mind. I think many of us have these in our collections. What I mean is this. Somehow, this ended up being Can Cannibalism. The cover is for when it was released on Can's label Spoon, but the records are actually United Artists. And is this the UK? Yeah. So however this ended up like this, I'm fine with it. UK pressed LPs in a German cover. Thank you, Ben. Thank you. He also sent me this, which is, again, I have all the music, but I didn't have this configuration, which is what's nice as a collector. The German rock scene, Can. How labels will take stuff and repackage it, trying to make that money over and over again. I appreciate this. This is beat, but that also is cool. Whoever owned this loved this and played it a lot. Really happy to add this to my Can collection, Ben. Thank you so much. Then he added one more, which is really the spicing on the cake. This is very special, Ben. Thank you very much. He sent me an original pressing. It's beat, which means it would probably get a grading of very good, not mint. But this is an original copy of canned soundtracks. Now, I've had this for years on the celluloid reissue, but this is a German, and I looked at the matrix and stuff. I do know how to train spot, or whatever you call that. This is an original German first pressing. First. The matrix is not A3B2 or A3B3, it's A3B1. Thank you, Ben. Very important band to me. Very, very happy to own an original copy of this album now. Yes, this is significant. Super cool, Ben. Thank you. Now, on top of that, he sent me something now. And then the other thing that that got him going was, as I've said recently, I don't watch videos very often. Every now and then I'll watch some videos. And so I happened to catch that Ryan Rocks was still active. And so I watched a recent video where he talked about the band in Affinity and Linda Hoyle. Linda Hoyle of Affinity. It's one of those Vertigo albums that I have never been able to own. Affinity. It's got the purplish cover. She's sitting on the cover. It's iconic to me. Back when I was buying a lot of records, I could only afford cutouts, or that was the main thing I could do was afford cutouts. And back in the day, in the 70s, cutouts were on a price scale from cheap to more expensive. Always obviously had to go for the more cheap. The Affinity was always in the higher price range of cutouts, so I could never get one. So to this day, I still don't own a copy of Affinity on vinyl, but I love the album. And I do have the album on the computer. Anyway, thank you so much, Ben, for sending me a brand new copy of Linda's new album that she made, The Fetch, first album in 20 or 30 years that she made. Cover art by Roger Dean, the guy that did all the Yes album covers. She's got some great players on here, from Mo Foster to Gary Husband. Double album. I listened to 2 sides of this already. This is how you come out of retirement correctly. You make music for the sake of making music. Linda has a very distinct, wonderful voice, and she's a real musician in that she goes for the moment of the music, which is what is cool and about this, as well as the actual music, the songwriting. This is the kind of record that I live for. Music made for no other reason but because we got to make music and we want it to be good. My first listen to this was, oh, this is wonderful. Jazzy, proggy, bluesy in the sense that there's a lot of feeling. Linda Hoyle, The Fetch. Now here's a brand new album, 2017, yeah. Here's one that I can highly recommend if you're looking for something new. This is really good. Ben, blew my mind. Plus the all the information that you sent along with it. Thank you so much, man. My goodness. Wow. On top of that, he sent me 2 more. He sent 2 more records. He asked me if I knew about Mythos, which of course I do. Mythos is a German band whose first 2 albums, Mythos and Dreamlab, are considered Krautrock classics, and I have both over there. I won't grab them. But they're still going. And the main guy behind the band, Stefan Kasky, is actually a Facebook friend of mine. So this is one of their other albums that they put out. I forget what year this is. But this is Strange Guys by Mythos. Now, frankly, I can see why you sent this to me, Ben. This is just okay. This is not comparable to their first 2 albums. Some of this is a bit cheesy. I didn't listen to it all the way through, but right away, this is not comparable to their best work, but I'm very pleased to have a copy of this to add to my Mythos collection, actually. Thank you very much. And the last thing he sent me, he said, I bet you have this already. And he's right, but I didn't have it. This is a German pressing of Egberto Gismonti's Dança das Cabeças, or however you say it. Brazilian fantastic musician. I saw him live when he toured this, when he came to the States. Got to meet him in Nana. Amazing. But this is a German pressing of this album. So yeah, I do have a fetish for import pressings. European pressings, and pressings from all over the world. So I do appreciate this very, very much. Thank you, Ben. His channel is Ryan Rocks. Now, the other pile of records I got from an Eric Hansen I'll get to in another video. But I'll also share this right quick if you're still with me. So much happens, you know. The Cannibalism that you sent was one of those where on one side it had a double label where a label was barely sticking. I'm good at taking those off, so I took it off, and so I have a can label. I have a collection of these actually in a book in the other room. Last night I got a last minute call to do some work at the Hi-Fi House. Hi-Fi House is a new endeavor starting here in Omaha. You're going to be hearing about it. It's a great new idea, a listening room, but more than that. They do private shows there and all kinds of stuff. Last night they had Tears of Silver, which is a super group of sorts, made up of Ken Stringfellow from the Posies. I got this from him last night. John and Grasshopper from Mercury Rev, and Jesse from Midlake. And I got called to work the show, which was wonderful because it was a great show. It was great to meet those guys. I got to meet them. I picked this up from Ken Stringfellow. This is their very first single, where they're doing a cover of Big Star. He also played with Alex Chilton in a Big Star reconfiguration not that long ago. He also played with REM. But this just happened last night, so I got to hear Tears of Silver and meet Ken Stringfellow. Great guy. I also got to meet Jonathan Donahue and Grasshopper from Mercury Rev, and had them sign my singles. They did this last night. It was just gorgeous. Music is the savior. Music is the savior. Oh, I had also pulled this because I wanted to show her in 1991. I did see Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers in concert. I've seen a lot of the greats. I know greatness, I do. Some people will lament my attitude about certain music, like the way I talk about the Steely Dan. You know, I just pulled my Steely Dan, which I'm putting up for sale, and put it on to see, did I misspeak about my thoughts on the band? No, I didn't. That their approach is like sitting in a bar for me. It's not what I like. Tom Petty's music is real straight ahead, so I don't buy it, but I recognize it. Mercury Rev, however, on the other hand, this is more my style. Kind of psychedelic, but really cool. So yeah, I got John and Grasshopper to sign my. They did this too. Got Us on the Highway. It was pretty fantastic, actually. So there you go, 20 minutes, and this is going to take forever to upload, but I actually have to go and meet someone for coffee this morning, so that's what I'll do while I'm waiting for this to upload. Yeah, we're all gonna die. Everyone watching this that's still alive, able to watch this, you're gonna die too. I'm gonna die one day. I won't be here. But it's still a shock to the system because we get attached and people do things and they end up meaning a lot to us. Musicians are some of the most revered, in reality, people on the planet. Judging by when musicians die, the outpouring, what people tell you their music meant to them. I mean, just just compare through social media alone, the comparison to what we've heard at the passing of recent great musicians compared to, say, for example, the passing recently of Hugh Hefner. I mean, there were some people who actually thought they had the right to denigrate this man who died and say good riddance because of their opinion about Playboy. Now, this is just my opinion, but that was wrong. You know, just because you have an opinion, a moral opinion about Playboy, doesn't justify your spitting on someone's grave. There's nothing good about that or morally correct about that. So I got a bunch of records from the FDH label I'll be reviewing in the near future. Everyone be well.